Welcome back. I'm Dan Salem with Phil and Bud. We are going to talk live NFL debate reaction to Week 10 on our three-man booth. Hello, fellas. It's been an interesting week of games.
I'd say so.
So the quote for this week is loser football. Now, I can't take credit for it, but I'm definitely embracing it for this season. And it applies to both the Giants and Jets, despite the Giants coming off a major win. I'll share my thoughts on that in a minute. I'm sure Phil's got some optimism as well. Should we start with the positives and then talk about the Giants? Or do you want to start with your quote, Phil?
No, we'll save that for after because I think we're going to have a lengthier discussion on what happened in MetLife Stadium on Sunday.
Okay.
Like I told Bud yesterday, I'm not going to sit here and crow and be like, well, the Giants are back because obviously they're not. It was nice to see a win again because I had forgotten what an NFL win looked like for the Giants. But we're not going to crow. Eli threw 188 yards or something like that. He did throw 3 touchdowns, which was nice to see. Led one of those nice fourth-quarter comebacks. As I was telling Bud yesterday, I was at Buffalo Wild Wings with a bunch of guys watching the game with some Niners fans, and I almost forgot the entire fourth quarter happened because I was about 3 or 4 beers deep. So it made the game go a lot smoother, but it was back and forth. It was, field goal here, touchdown here. So it wasn't a blowout. You have a 1-7 team and a 2-7 team. You think this is going to be absolutely awful, kind of like what we saw with the Niners and the Raiders on Thursday night there. Just an absolute blowout. That didn't happen here. It was actually a really good. Bud said it was a boring game, but at least it was competitive and it wasn't a blowout. You weren't turning the TV off at halftime.
Well, and we called it, right? We said it was going to be classic Eli with that come from behind victory kind of sealed his moniker.
Yeah, he's going to play for another week apparently. He was going to play for the rest of the year anyway, but it just
yeah. So
like I said yesterday, why the hell does it take 10 weeks? And maybe it was the addition of that guard. Where'd they get him from? They signed a new guard. I forget what team he came from. I want to say the Rams, but I could be wrong. I think it's the Rams. But was that all of a sudden the missing piece? I mean, Eli was only sacked 1 time the entire game, which was
bad defensive line by the 49ers. That's really what it is.
Yeah, I was going to say that's number one. And number 2 is that they've had a couple weeks now without Eric Flowers. So the addition of the other guys is good, but now they're kind of like
Did you know that Eric Flowers is starting for the Jaguars this weekend, by the way?
Oh, I did not.
They need offensive line help.
Keep an eye on that because I'm going to be very interested to see what happens. I don't know. I think he's playing left tackle. So
watch him be great and Fournette run for 200.
I hope so, because I just traded for him in fantasy.
Okay. Yeah, but Fournette's going to run to the right side of the line, not the left side. If he runs to the left, he's not getting anything. But that's another story. I just found that was funny because he has to start. Jacksonville has no other option. So
do you have predictions for the revenge game for Pierre-Paul and on the Bucs against your Giants?
So this game has shootout written all over it because both defenses are not good. I think the Giants defense is a little better than Tampa Bay. Everyone's lining up Tampa Bay, and Fitzpatrick threw for 500 yards or something like that, 400 yards, and they scored 3 points.
Do you know that Tampa Bay has statistically by yards per game the number 1 offense in the league?
I did know that.
Even better than Kansas City and better than LA and those teams that are scoring 40 points a game. Statistically, the Bucs are putting up more yardage by almost like 50 or 60 yards a game.
So then it's turnovers, right?
Yeah, if you can't put it in the end zone.
That's really what's killing them. Their defense is terrible, and there's too many turnovers, but they're still putting up 500-something yards a game.
Yeah. So I think this game has shootout written all over it. I do because Beckham has 2 touchdowns. He only had 4 catches, but 2 of them went for touchdowns. Shepard had that nice touchdown at the end. Again, we're not going to start saying they're going to run the table because they're not, even though it's mathematically possible. I'm not getting my hopes up until they win 4 or 5 in a row. Then we'll start talking. But we all know that that's not going to happen. Well, they do have an easier schedule. They got the Bucs. They got who else? The Colts. Then they play the Eagles again. I was very disappointed in the Eagles, by the way. I thought for sure. Oh, what happened?
No, I'm just going to finish up here. I was just saying, I agree with you that the Eagles are they're done.
I thought for sure they were going to take care of the Cowboys. And maybe it benefits, again, if by some miracle, like Beckham says, we have 7 more wins to go, them beating the Cowboys, it's like nobody wants to win this division. The Redskins should have lost to the Bucs. They're not a good team, but they didn't. So
but they got another easy game this week in principle too.
Who are they playing? Remember?
Oh,
I don't remember who they're playing.
Oh, Houston, but they're at home. I mean, Houston.
That's not an easy game. I think Houston wins that game.
Washington's playing pretty well at home.
But they lost two of their defensive or two of their offensive linemen, and they lost Paul Richardson. So they're down 3 starters. Okay. It's just that Tampa Bay's defense is so bad. It's bad.
What would you prefer? That the Giants don't win another game, or the Cowboys? Like, what's worse? The Giants don't win another game, or the Cowboys win the division?
Oh, Cowboys winning division is worse by a mile. I can't stand them. I absolutely can't stand them. That's the only thing that's making the season at least palatable is that they're just as bad.
Except they're like a game out of first place.
So. The
winner of that division is going to be 9-7, 8-8, maybe.
Easily.
That's why I'm saying they're not mathematically eliminated. So if they run the table, it could happen, but it's not going to.
This brings me to an interesting point because the Buccaneers are continuing to start Ryan Fitzpatrick because they're technically not mathematically eliminated either.
But they're not going to go back to Jameis Winston.
Well, but why are they trying to win football games? The Jets are not mathematically eliminated if we're going to consider this argument either. They're the same record. They all have the same record. The Giants, the Jets, they all have the same record. The Cowboys have a 1 win more. Like, these teams all suck. So I don't understand what they're playing for.
The only difference is the Patriots are in the AFC East, not in the NFC East.
Phil and I, we were talking last night, and there's a lot of bad football teams.
Yeah.
There is a clear separation between the really good football teams this year and the really bad, and there's just a couple of them sprinkled in on, you still don't know what they are kind of deal, which is kind of strange because normally throughout, in the seasons you'd have some sort of competitive, but you have like 4 or 5 teams that have two wins or less.
But so for Tampa Bay, because they have 3 wins, right?
Yeah, they're the same record as the Jets.
Wouldn't it behoove them to let Winston play, look good, and then up his value, or are they just cutting?
He has no value.
I don't think he has any.
I think that he's a turnover machine, and he's just a bad person.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of teams are, especially in today's NFL and today's culture, I think that's just something that people don't want to touch. And
he's had chance after chance after chance, and now he's paying for it clearly.
Yeah. So is he a bigger bust than what's his face with Oakland? I can't even remember his name. Number 1 pick.
What, Jamarcus Russell?
No,
he's not that bad.
No, he's not that bad. I mean,
he can still win games. He can still play, and he's still effective. It's just, if you can look past the 2 turnovers a game,
that's tough. That's tough.
He can still play. Jamarcus Russell couldn't even throw the ball, barely.
No.
Okay, so the Giants don't really have anything to play for, but they're playing for pride because they got a bunch of veterans.
Yeah, that's what it is. See, the problem is if you won Monday. If you happen to win next week, that's 2 in a row. And then if you play
that's called a winning streak.
That is. Thank God. Thank you for that. I was trying to think of the guy. Obviously, it's Major League. I forget the guy's name.
Lou Brown.
Yeah, Lou Brown. Thanks, Lou Brown. And then you play the Eagles next week. Well, now you're 4-7 or 5-7. You're like, wow, we may have something here. And I don't even know if to your point earlier on, I don't know if it doesn't benefit you at that point. Unless you're going to win the next 7 games, it makes no sense to win any of them.
Well, I think
weird as that sounds.
Being optimistic and just throwing darts and seeing what sticks. They're not. Their offense is not built currently, other than Saquon Barkley, to do anything. Yeah, Beckham had 2 touchdown catches, but he hasn't been productive at all this year. Eli is all over the place. 50-50. You don't know what game he's going to get. The offensive line is shoddy at best. The entire offense runs through one player. And, at some point, opposing defenses are just going to figure out that they need to stop Saquon Barkley. And then
I think they figured that out already, actually.
I hope so. So I'm shaking my fist because I faced Beckham and the 49ers running back in fantasy, and they both scored twice, and I lost by 5.
You got smoked.
I got smoked.
What did Matt Breida have? He had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, something like that.
So if it was anybody other than Eli Manning, we wouldn't be talking about this, right? Because Manning's run the table twice to a Super Bowl championship. So that's the only reason we're truly
not like this though. This would be this would be
the greatest accomplishment of his career if that ever happened. If that happened this year.
Well, running the table to the playoffs is kind of 7 wins. I guess the playoffs is 5 wins. I guess it's not quite the same, but
yeah. It would be again. We're in 3 weeks. If we're still sitting here and they haven't lost it, we'll have a much different conversation.
Okay.
But at the moment, I'm going to be pessimistic and just know that I just know it's not going to happen.
I appreciate your realism.
No, yeah, I'm gonna. It's funny. When we were younger, and obviously everyone knows, or at least you guys know, I'm a big Knicks fan. Every year I was convinced they were going to win the championship, and every year I was wrong. But I was always so optimistic. And everyone's like, "You got to cut it out." I'm like, "Nah, they got it this year." Well, nah, I've seen it. I've seen it enough to know.
We've seen the Jets get to the AFC Championship in our lifetimes. That's a bit better than what you've suffered through as a Knicks fan. Not a lot, but a bit.
I have seen 2 finals, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same. So
am
I optimistic today? Yeah, but I do think they beat Tampa Bay though. I just think overall they have more talent on both sides of the ball in Tampa Bay.
Now maybe this is we have to talk about the Jets. So I'm gonna just throw this out there because obviously that game I was visiting family, so I watched the first series which lasted 2 plays and the Bills scored and I turned it off. And I knew that was the bad sign. And it didn't get any better from there. So,
75 yards, 2 plays, touchdown.
Yep. And so that told me all I needed to know about this football game because it didn't feel like week 1 with Josh McCown there. I checked in to see if the score improved, and it did not. So this makes me wonder, right? Because Darnold hurt his foot. Now, that could be a 1-week injury. That could be we should rest him the rest of the year injury because why – I mean, he's got a plant to take 3-step drops and stuff. Nobody officially tanks in the NFL, but the Jets have every reason to tank the rest of the season, and it seemed pretty obvious on Sunday that the team agreed. So, I don't know.
You're asking yourself the same question. Why does it benefit you to win?
It doesn't, and so I'm not. That was why I'm not upset as a fan. That that was awful. It was god awful, and it makes me want the coaches out. But otherwise, I wasn't off. I mean, they have nothing to gain from winning at this point because they're not competitive in the playoff picture. So nobody actually tanks, right? But I got to ask the question because the game was so bad. I don't really want to talk about it otherwise.
Oh no, we have to talk about this. This is epic. Oh wait, before we start, I want to read this to you because I found this article right before we signed on, and this is from it's one of the we like the Fox stations, not Fox News, but so the headline is New York Jets fan blames DUI. Oh, you saw this? But did you see this article?
No.
Right. But I thought of you immediately when I read it.
I'm going to show you the picture of the guy. Here he is.
Oh, we got the picture of him. Okay.
Here's the headline.
Wait, hold on. Put it back so I can read it.
All right, hold on. Here.
New York Jets fan blames DWI and team's performance. I drank too much because the Jets suck.
That is so true.
It goes so disappointed Jets fan attributes his decision to drink and drive on Sunday to the team's poor performance, reportedly telling police he drinks because they suck.
I have a shirt that actually says, I drink because they suck. And it has a big Jets logo on it and stuff like that.
He rear-ended another vehicle, injuring 2 people and registering a 0.13% alcohol level. He told the cop, I drink because they suck. And this guy was at the game, so he was coming home from the game because he got pulled over at 5:00. So I immediately, like you, Dan, I immediately thought of Bud because that's his moniker. They suck. So all right, that's all I want to talk about.
So I'm going to stand down, Bud. Give us your loser football rant because I don't know, it couldn't have gotten much worse than it did on Sunday, even though Darnold wasn't out there to deal the blow.
It's that was bad.
Well, you told me your dad was watching the game with you, so.
Yeah, no, it's one of those situations where I said to Phil, I said to you last week that I didn't think they were going to win, and everybody kind of laughed at me and said, "Well, they're playing Barkley, they're playing the Bills or whatever."
They were +7.
When he made that first pass on the first play of the game, my dad looked at me and said, flat out, he's like, "They're going to lose," and I knew that they were, and yet we still continue to watch this team fumble around with themselves. They can't figure out what they, again, for the 4th straight week, look completely unprepared to play a football game. Jamal Adams comes out on the radio and kind of says that we weren't prepared because we didn't watch any film on Barkley. Like, Are you kidding? Like the excuses that just continue to come out of this team they're mind-boggling to me. And
So are they protecting goals? I mean, what's going on?
And the fact, listen, and I said this to Phil last night on the podcast. The Cincinnati Bengals are 5-4. They're a game and a half out of first place in the AFC North, right? They gave up 51 points against the Saints. The next day, not even the next day, that night, they fired the defensive coordinator. Somebody was held accountable for a poor performance, right? Mm-hmm. This is 4 straight weeks where this team has looked completely uncompetitive, unprepared to play. The offense is stagnant. They can't figure anything out. The defense is on the field way too long, and then they eventually just quit. This is on coaching, and the fact that this ownership can stand over here and tell their fans that we're just going to ride through it until the end of the year is piss-poor excuse for poor management and poor football. I'm tired of it. I said to you last week, I said I'm done watching football, and I continue to go back and I continue to watch it, and I plan on going to football games now and wasting my money on beer and all that other bullshit that goes on, and I can't take it anymore.
All right. So
but you can take it for it.
Yeah. So I watched those first 2 plays and turned it off because I felt the same way. I was like, well, we had a good defense. What the hell happened? This is going to be terrible. Why am I going to suffer? I'd rather just enjoy my family's time. So
you're also smart because it's 75 degrees and sunny. You can go to the beach instead.
They have played 2. I'm getting real close now. They've played 2 third-string quarterbacks back-to-back weeks, and they have made them look amazing. Brock Osweiler got traded to the Browns for a bag of peanuts and a washer machine, and then they cut him, and then he goes out and he plays great against them. And Matt Barkley hasn't done anything since the Rose Bowl 6 years ago, and he goes out and he lights him up.
So I read one person about the Jets, Rich Cimini on ESPN, because he's reasonably even keeled. And he just presents a lot of stats. And he had a stat on the Jets, who I think they played 2 high caliber quarterbacks this season. And they've played pretty much all backups all year long and have not been able to do a damn thing. Now, the first month of the season, the defense looked halfway decent. And I got to be honest with you, I don't really know what the answer is here because I'm not a proponent of in-season firings. I don't think it does anybody any good because the new coach isn't going to do anything. So, I mean, you're more likely to lose by keeping the staff you have. And at this point, that's better than winning for this team's future. But they completely cleaned house last offseason except for Bulls and got all new coordinators. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, running backs coach, quarterbacks coach, defensive line coach. They got all new coordinators last offseason. Now, the unfortunate thing is Bulls is going to get fired, and all those guys are going to go away when they've only had 1 year or less to actually do anything.
I call it the defense. Does Bulls call the defense or no?
No, he did for 2 games. Rogers.
Okay.
I mean, I like Kevin Green as the linebackers coach, and I think he's gotten a lot out of a little with that unit. I'd hate to see him go, but he's likely to go. I don't know what Jeremy Bates is doing because I thought Josh McCown would be an improvement with his history, and he was worse. So I don't get.
Well, he's an assistant coach. He's technically an assistant coach, right? So they just threw him out there.
Listen, what you're dealing with is that you're dealing with a lame duck coach now. I mean, he's gone. He has to be gone, and you're putting all the pressure on Mike McCagnon to finally figure out how you're going to build this team. The plan going into this was that 2019 they were going to be the competitive football team. So they're still 1 year away. Okay, you made the changes, you made the trades to go get what you would consider a franchise quarterback, right? But you have no pieces around him that are successful. I told you guys weeks ago that this offense was running, and as soon as Bilal Powell got hurt, offense it's not even a shell of itself. It's non-existent. It looks like a high school football team.
Well, and I don't think Anun was fully healthy, and McGuire I like, but he's not a number 1.
Did Robbie Anderson even play this weekend? I don't even think so. I didn't even see him.
They got to get rid of him. I mean, because he's like a
You're gonna have $100 million in cap space, and like I said to Phil last night, I better see every single dollar spent. I don't want to see any money left. You need a wide receiver. You need multiple wide receivers. You need a running back. You need offensive line help. You need a defensive pass rusher. You need so many things.
They'll get that pass rusher in the draft because this is a real defensive heavy draft. But Uh, I mean, I like most of the moves that McCadden's made, but oh my God, Tremaine Johnson is a total bust. I cannot believe how inept he is.
He was a stud in LA.
Like he just.
I just think that it's a product of. I mean, he got burned on that first play, and who knows if he's 100%.
So there's a silver lining here because Jared Goff was a rookie bust as a quarterback. Corsi Staff turned over, and he was great year two with someone that actually could work with his strengths. And we've seen this several times over the last 5 or 6 years where these rookies, they are paired with a coach that is not suitable to them. And then year two or year three, they find like year two, like you finally get something really good out of them. So I want to look on the positive, and I'm happy we have Darnold because I like the potential with him going forward. But you're right. We need everything else is like, besides the defensive guys that we've drafted over the last 2 or 3 years, because they're still good. Leonard Williams is still really good. We got a nice core on defense, but I don't know. I mean, I think the whole coaching staff gets gutted again. I don't see any other way around it.
No, they all have to go. And again, I don't really care if it's a midseason fire or not, but just somebody has to be held accountable right now. And the fact that they're just not it just seems like they don't get it. They just don't get it. Like you just it's so bad even watching it.
And you said to me last night, so like the other teams that are bad, the Giants, the Raiders, it all seems like they have some sort of plan going forward. And you said last night that just looks like they have no plan at all at the moment.
Well, those two teams have a first-year coach. So
yeah, no, but like the Raiders are stockpiling picks. So like they have whether or not the plan is good or not, they're implementing some sort of plan. I guess I don't really know what the Giants' plan is. You have to make the offensive line better, and I don't know if you do this through free agency or in the draft, but so the point that was made yesterday is that it doesn't look like there's a path at the moment. And we say it all the time, year after year, the worst place to be is in NFL purgatory, where you're not bad enough to get a good draft pick and you're not good enough to make the playoffs.
So the Jets are bad enough to get a good draft pick because
I'm just in general though. Like,
I mean they're not going to say it, but that team is they're tanking the rest of the year, especially if those guys are all coming back next season for the Jets. They want a better team. They got nothing to play for right now except to not get hurt. So
but I agree with Bud. You have $100 million of cap space. You better use it. What was the year before the Giants went 11-5? They had the same situation. They spent every nickel of that money, and they took them to 11 wins.
But you tell me where they are successful in the second half of the season.
Well, you get to play the Patriots twice. You get to play Green Bay. We went through the schedule yesterday.
Minnesota? No, they already got Minnesota.
Yeah. We went through it, but like, did you see another win? And we couldn't come up with another win.
I would say Buffalo.
They got to play Buffalo one more time. I mean, that's legitimately the only win, and you just lost to them 41-10. You got to play the Patriots coming out of the bye. Then you got to play
Patriots twice.
You got to play the Patriots twice. They end the season in Foxborough. You got to play the Packers. You got to play.
They got Buffalo. Who else? Oh,
I'll call up the schedule one right now.
They have Pittsburgh. They got a couple of tough teams.
No, they don't have Pittsburgh.
No Pittsburgh. It's definitely Green Bay, the Buffalo, Miami.
Miami's done. They already played Miami twice.
Oh, did they? Okay.
So you still got to play. Hold on, I called it up on my phone. So you got the Patriots, then you got the Titans, then you got the Bills, then you got Houston, Green Bay, and you end at the Patriots. Tell me where they win. The Titans just rolled all over New England.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a surprise victory wherever it comes.
Right. It's going to be against the Patriots the last week of the year where they don't play anybody. But but Belichick plays everybody when they play the Jets, so they can run up the score.
So, I know. I agree with you. I don't see another win on their schedule. And a step back there. I mean, Bowles is fired. But do you think Darnold plays another game this year, or are they just going to rest him? I mean, why?
I think he plays.
I think they have to play him, and I think as a Jet fan, you got to get ready for these next 6 weeks after the bye to be really bad. And it's one of those things that like everyone was getting on Sam Darnold about how poor he was playing, but
It was not on him.
it's not his fault, right? I mean, look at what you got. Look at what the alternative is. The alternative is even worse.
Yeah, so because I thought he did a great job as a rookie of stopping the bleeding for a team that was treading water. So he just. Oh, we have unlimited time. Yay.
Oh, wow, look at that.
To talk more about. I've been very impressed with him this season. Now, sure, he's thrown more picks, but he's just trying to make plays. I really – so let's get out of this year because this year sucks. But from a big picture standpoint, I'm very happy having Darnold going forward. I'm sure the Arizona Cardinals are saying the same thing. I'm sure Buffalo's feeling pretty good about having Josh Allen. And obviously, the Browns are feeling good about having Baker Mayfield going forward. Not all four of these quarterbacks are going to pan out, but it looks like at least two of them are going to be solid, and then two of them will probably flame out after 3 years.
It'll be Mayfield and Darnold. Those will be the two that are good going forward.
I think so too. And because we have not had a quarterback since year two of Mark Sanchez that I felt good about. Like year one of Mark Sanchez was like, oh, this is a gift. Year two, I was like, oh, he did it again. And I felt great going into year three, and then he ripped our hearts out. So it's been a long time. No, it was not saying it was, but he never corrected his problems. He never learned to read the field or make better decisions. He made poor decisions as a quarterback. He threw, and he who knows what could have been, but it's been a long time since I've felt good. We've had a quarterback going into the next season that I was excited about.
Do you think the Jets go after Le'Veon Bell? Currently, they have the best odds to get him.
I think I heard it was between him, them, and Indianapolis. I think have the two.
Yeah, but Indianapolis has Mac. I read the Jets and the Packers.
I didn't hear that one. Really, Packers.
That's what I read. Jets and the Packers had the best odds to get him.
That'd be interesting because they got Aaron Jones on a rookie deal to pay another running back $17, $18 million a year. I mean, that's we said this many times.
Yeah.
All these teams that are winning Super Bowls are winning Super Bowls because they have the most important positions under good deals. Rookie quarterbacks coming in. Russell Wilson. That's the whole reason the Seahawks were so good. Mm-hmm. Russell Wilson was making nothing, and they put all the money in the defense. Obviously, when his time came, they paid him, and look what happened. Seattle they have no defense. Look at the Lions. The Lions are bad now, and they just sunk money into Matt Stafford for a whole bunch of years, so they're going to be screwed. The way you win in today's NFL is not paying your quarterback and your running back huge money. So
the Jets can afford to pay the running back because they've got cheap players on defense and at the quarterback position.
Right. That's exactly. But when it comes time to pay Sam Darnold, and they're going to pay him his money whenever it gets there, you'll have the same problem too. Every team has this now.
Do you think Bell would sign a 3-year deal? I'd be hesitant to go much longer than 3 with him. But I do.
Yeah, he's gonna want a contract that's similar to Kirk Cousins. He'll sign 3 years, but he's gonna want $75 million, and it's all guaranteed.
Yeah, the last couple times the Jets brought in a player like him from another team, it's worked out really well.
Well, Damian Tomlinson was great.
Yeah, Curtis Martin was great. Even Thomas Jones was great. He was a lower tier. So I can't think of another running back I'd rather have them get, and they need one desperately. I think Le'Veon Bell makes Elijah McGuire better. I don't know if they keep the other guy that was rookie.
There's similar style runners. That's something that you'd have to consider. Bilal Powell's not going to be on the team next year. Isaiah Crowell is what a waste. He had one good game, and that was it.
I think he's playing through an injury, but still, he's not doing it.
Yeah, apparently they all are. That's just the excuse that they're.
Yeah.
Whatever. But
so next week I'll have to when we reconvene next week. I'm gonna try and see if I can find a list of people of players that are going to be free agents that are going to be available. I don't. Usually if every other sport whose contract's coming up because it's so widely talked about. Football's not that way because most people don't even make it to free agency. So it'll be interesting to see if there's anybody of name available next year.
Yeah, because I think there's going to be a lot of receivers too. I don't know how many of those you want to touch, but I think there's going to be quite a number.
Well, Demaryius Thomas will be a free agent. So will Golden Tate.
Oh yes.
That's why they traded him because they had expiring contracts and they get draft picks for him.
Yeah.
That's why I was so disappointed in that Eagles Cowboys game. I thought Golden Tate was going to show up and just play well, and I mean,
how about Des Bryant getting his ACL tear before he even hit the field?
You know what's so funny?
Two practices.
There were so many people who went out on the fantasy waiver wire and picked up Dez. Like, why did you waste your time? The guy was going to have maybe 2 or 3 looks a game. The only reason he was there was to take coverage away from Michael Thomas. But all these people were falling over each other to get Des Bryant. It made no sense to me.
And they signed They signed Brandon Marshall like a couple hours after the report came out.
Oh, really? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, Brandon Marshall's a Saint.
Brandon Marshall's on the Saints now.
So the Saints are all in for the Super Bowl. They got a legitimate shot here, but I don't know. They got suspect defense. The Chiefs have suspect defense. The Patriots obviously.
It's getting better though. So the Chiefs just got back. What's his name?
Talib.
Who?
Talib.
Oh, yes,
Well,
yes.
he's coming back too, but there's another guy who just came back that was hurt. So the Chiefs defense is quietly getting better. No one's talking about it yet. Wait till Monday night. You'll see it.
I'm not rushing away the year, but this should be a good playoffs with these power teams playing one another. So
yeah, Monday night's good. You want to see what's a Super Bowl preview? That might be Monday night.
Well, I said to you, because I live away from New York and the Jets consistently suck, I always root for another team to do well, and it's generally the Chargers because I'm out here and now they're in LA Chargers. So I'm really pulling for them to like hold on to one of these playoff spots.
They're a quiet 7-2.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Nobody's talking about them yet. They continue to just put up points and do their business and play good defense. And Philip Rivers is still playing at a high level. And
yeah. So I got a final thought. They moved the game from Mexico City to Los Angeles for Monday night, and basically screwed everybody over though that had tickets. And they're trying
to. It was unplayable. I mean, they showed it during Monday night during the Giants game. There was no way. First of all, there was a whole bunch of players saying they weren't going to play that game.
Yeah,
they did.
No.
So could you imagine how much fantasy impact that would have had if those guys don't play?
No, I knew they had to move it. They had to move it. I'm not saying they shouldn't have, but like the NFL's trying to expand internationally, and they finally get a game down in Mexico City, and they had to cancel it. And all those people, like, they refund their tickets. I don't even know how that works.
Yeah, they might. Well, they played in Mexico City last year, I think. I'm pretty sure they did.
They played a couple years ago too. Kansas City and Oakland played.
I thought the Patriots did too.
All right, so it's not the first time, but like I'm just thinking like they're going to try to last minute fill the LA Coliseum now, which is this gargantuanly large stadium when no one expected them to be playing there. It's just awkward.
Well, luckily it's Monday night, so you do get an extra day. Again, I think. Hold on, I was just looking at some lines here. The over under for that game is 63. I think that's the highest in NFL. It's 60 exactly. People are going to go to that game, no problem.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think you'll have a problem. Maybe why don't you go to the game? You can give us a firsthand analysis.
It's
100,000 seats. They're going to be one available.
Yeah, there will be. I won't be able to see the field. But
have you ever been to that stadium?
No, I have not watched. I haven't gone to watch a game there.
I'm curious, like, because it's so massive. I really wonder if, like, you're at the top. Is it really hard to see? Because obviously, you go to these football stadiums and the field's a lot closer than it looks on TV. But that one is enormous.
I sat in the nosebleeds at Foxborough, and it was not easy to see the field. This stadium's a lot larger. I can't imagine you can see much of anything.
Yeah, because it goes like out, like it's wide and it goes.
It's that
out.
classic college stadium. It's just like. Whoop.
Yeah. So, but there's a line. So when we were talking last night, there was no line for the Giants game, which was weird because we already knew Fitzpatrick was going to start. So, you want to guess the line for the Giants game? Giants are home.
Tampa is favored by 5.
Wow, Dan.
Oh, I saw them earlier today, so I'm not.
Oh, you saw it. But you're actually way off this time. It's Giants -1.5.
Yeah. I know.
So it's basically a pick 'em.
Well, so this is telling you if you're on a neutral field, they're saying Tampa's a little better, is what they're saying with that line.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It was just I couldn't for whatever reason they didn't have it yesterday, and I found it today. I did want to see. Oh yeah, so the Rams are -3.5. So
that's swung because that was about a 1-point spread before they moved it.
Yeah. What a mess! What a mess!
I mean, I'm watching for fantasy this week. I got to win to stay in the playoffs race, like a game back. I don't know. Are you got Giants predictions? What do you got? We got nothing. We're on a bye. I can't imagine what's going to go on.
I'm picking Tampa.
I'm saying the Giants win the game. I just think they're overall better,
Okay.
But I expect a high-scoring game.
Let me end with a question because I got Sterling Shepard on my fantasy team. He got in the end zone with 30 seconds to go this past week. Tampa Bay's got an awful defense.
Yep.
But I don't know whether I want to start him. And my options are Calvin Ridley, who has been struggling the last 2 weeks, but was great earlier. Or I've got Godwin of Tampa Bay.
Oh, Godwin. Okay.
Godwin of Tampa Bay. I'm leaning towards Shepard.
I'm in the same boat as you, Dan. I have Sterling Shepard, and I'm going to play him.
Okay.
I think you have to.
I think Tampa's pass defense is one of the worst in the league. So you gotta have to hope that they double team Odell and.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning. So I mean, I don't like Ridley's matchup. The Falcons are kind of bleh. And Shepard keeps finding the end zone, so that was where I was leaning. I was just curious what your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think that's the play. So that's that. You're right. He got the garbage time touchdown, which hopefully helped you out.
Or do you go the other way? Like I have Deshaun Jackson. Do you play Deshaun Jackson against a weak Giants secondary?
He's more of a number one.
But he's also boom or bust, though. If he can he can get you a big game, or he can get you a goose egg.
Right.
There's no in between with him.
I feel better about Eli Manning than I do Ryan Fitzpatrick after last week, so I still think it's Shepard.
Yeah, I think you go with Shepard too. Yeah.
Are you guys both in the playoff race for your fantasy leagues?
Yeah.
Well, I'm number one overall, so I'm locked in.
There will be nobody who beats Phil's team.
Yeah, I just traded Drew Brees today for AJ Green.
Isn't AJ Green hurt?
So yeah, he is. But my thought process is I don't need him till week 15, so he can take a month off for all I care.
I see.
I literally don't need him for a month.
Let me read down Phil's roster before we leave here.
Okay.
He's got Patrick Mahomes, Barkley, Kareem Hunt, Devontae Adams. Is that his first name?
Yeah, Devontae Adams.
AJ Green, which apparently Phil doesn't even need. He's just kind of there.
He's just there. He's just a guy.
Evan Ingram, who is by far the worst player on his roster.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara, the Bears, and Graham Gano.
You have every player that surprised us this year besides Thielen from the Vikings and exceeded expectations.
I have him.
Oh, you have him.
Yeah, Bud has him. Yes.
And every week I get 2 trade requests from people asking to give me garbage for Adam Thielen.
Wow. So
I do my homework.
We play in a keeper league, so I kept Antonio Brown, Ezekiel Elliott, and Travis Kelce number ones at 3 positions. And so I'm doing pretty well. And I love
3 players. We can only keep 2.
Oh,
yeah,
so
we only do 2.
We can keep 4. I also kept Alex Collins, who was kind of like blah at running back, but I needed.
Yeah. No. I definitely hit the jackpot with Mahomes. There's no doubt about that. So. In about 4 or 5 weeks, I will show you the trophy live. It will be in my house. I'll put it behind me instead.
Okay. So if it weren't for fantasy football, we really would have nothing to watch.
Yes, that is. I said that to my friends on Monday. I said, "Thank God for fantasy football, or there'd be no reason to even watch this game." So yes, completely agree. That and a couple shekels that you put on the game here and there. But yes. I just assume everybody does that.
No, not everybody does that, Phil.
So I'm watching this week to see what the Jets managed to screw up on the bye. What do you guys watching?
It's gonna be there's nothing. It's gonna be a boring week for you, I think.
I'm just looking forward to not having to drink like that guy.
Yeah. Don't get a DUI next weekend.
Okay.
No. Okay. It's the one Sunday a year that. All
right. So let's ask this: what are you gonna do to pass the time next week?
Well, I have to work.
Dan's going to go to the beach like he always does.
Well, yeah, we see the pictures on Instagram. I have to work. I'll be home by the 4 o'clock games, and I have a lot of players going at 4 o'clock this week. So I'll just nestle up with a glass of bourbon, and my brother-in-law is going to be here. My birthday's on Monday, so I plan on
having fun. Yes.
Yeah. I might get drunk.
Okay.
Might.
Well, this will be a happy and not a sad version, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see.
Thanks.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, this has been fun. We managed to make this a happy discussion despite the awful loss. So I'm proud of us.
Well, it's Wednesday, so I've had 3 days to kind of digest this. Like I said to Phil last night, if we had done this on Sunday, you would have had to have your bleep button, because I was in rare form Sunday. You thought my rant a couple weeks ago was bad? No, I was really mad on Sunday.
Yeah. All right.
But I've calmed down because I'm older now and I'm wiser, and I've learned to tone things down.
Very good. I'm happy to hear it.
Thanks. It doesn't make good for good television, though.
All right.
All right.
Well, that was all for us. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll be back next week.
Thanks for watching BuzzChomp.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Share.
Woo.